Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's topic is one of the main reasons I started this channel in the first place. So I'm really excited to finally be getting into it. We're talking cloth nappies, guys. I know a lot of people have asked me why we use them and what it is that we do and how it works and all of that. So I can't wait to get into it. So let's get into it. I'll start by saying I'm not one who thought I was going to use cloth nappies. I think just like most people that I've spoken to, I also believed that cloth nappies was what our parents used. It was old school. It was something that just didn't make sense anymore. And the only people who used them were people who couldn't afford to buy proper diapers, because that's what I've heard people saying to me. When they find out I'm using cloth nappies, they ask me, what's wrong? Can you not access proper diapers? Can you not afford them? And I only got to understand the advantage of using cloth nappies when I got pregnant and I started looking in, like when I started joining the mom forums, and I would see cloth nappies popping up and people having discussions, and I wondered, wow, like I was in forums that were like international with women from all over the world and especially the West, and it just made me interested. I was like, oh, I didn't know that was something you could choose to do and that was actually good, and they had different types and different brands and all of that. So then I started to look into it and I discovered a lot of things which I'm willing to share with you guys. So there's 3 reasons why we chose to use cloth nappies, or you can call them reusable nappies or reusable diapers. Diapers, nappies, it's the same thing. It depends on where you are. Diapers, I think, is what they say in America, and nappies is what they say in England. And then I think in Kenya we've just chosen to believe that diapers means the disposable ones and nappies means the reusable ones, but they're actually the same thing. But I digress. So there's 3 main reasons why we chose to use cloth nappies. I'm going to break it down into pros and cons of cloth nappies so that it's very balanced, guys. But then for us, the pros outweighed the cons, and we just thought it was a much better decision to make. So I'll start with the pros. Cloth nappies are so much cheaper than disposable nappies. And I remember, like, I had a very interesting conversation with an Uber driver. I usually have conversations with Uber drivers. When I was in Nairobi, I was using a lot of Ubers. And there's one particular driver who ended up picking me up twice, I guess because it happens. And because he remembered me and we started to talk. And then he was saying how he had twins and he was really struggling to pay for their diapers. And then we had gone to a conversation of, have you ever thought about using cloth nappies? And he was like, what? You can do that in this day and age? Isn't that something that our parents did? Isn't that something that's like old school? It's been phased out, all of that. And then I realized, there's so much information that people just don't have. Some people have done a survey and research and done the math and all of that. And it turns out that for the entire period that your baby uses a nappy, which usually is like, 2 to 2.5 years of using nappies, the amount of money you spend on disposable diapers, it doesn't matter what the brand, the amount of money you end up spending can easily be up to between 3 to 5 times the amount of money you would have spent if you bought reusable nappies. And that's something which is mind-boggling, especially for people who come from backgrounds where they're not very financially fluid. I didn't understand why it became something which they wouldn't look into. I mean, there's the initial cost, which is going to be a bit more because you're going to be spending more money on buying the stuff the first time. But then overall, over the long period, that's it. You don't have to spend any more money. So if you're someone who's wondering how you're going to afford nappies for your babies, how you're going to afford buying those brands that you like, or how you're going to afford improving to a better brand, I would recommend looking into cloth nappies just because they're so much cheaper. So that was number 1. Now, we used disposable diapers with our baby the first few weeks. I think up to 6 weeks we used disposable nappies. I already had the cloth nappies with me. I'd already bought them before she was born. But then, when they're babies, they're really tiny, so you have to get like a newborn size, and I didn't have a newborn size. So then I thought, okay, we just have to use disposables until she can fit into the bigger ones. And for those 6 weeks, what I mainly remember more than anything is how much rubbish we had. Every time it was bin collection day, we had 2 massive bin bags filled with diapers. And that's like, we used to have bin collection twice a week. So you can imagine having 4 big bin bags filled with nappies per week. And that's just one household. And it just made me think, this is all going to landfill. This is all good. There's no recycling. Like, it's just going to be dumped in Dandora or wherever it is that they dump the stuff. So that was just like a huge indication of how much rubbish we end up throwing when we're using disposable nappies. And this is plastic, which it doesn't break down. I just thought this is so bad for the environment. And so I was aching to get into using cloth nappies, and everything changed. Like, once we swapped to cloth nappies, sometimes we didn't even have to put our rubbish out until the next week because we didn't have enough rubbish. So if you're someone who cares about the environment and you're wondering how you can help reduce the pollution, I would say look into cloth nappies just because of that. I've had numerous conversations with people who say how their babies are reacting to this brand or that brand. Even in the forums that I'm in, people asking, which brands are you using? Because my baby's reacting with all the brands I've tried. The underlying thing is your baby's bum is right next to chemicals when you're using disposable nappies, because there are these chemicals that are used to trap the moisture and then turn them into crystals or something like that, which can be reactive to your baby's skin. And at the end of the day, it might be really difficult to find the right brand for your baby. And the thing that I found with the cloth nappies, I've never had any issue. Like, my baby's bum is fantastic. It's really smooth. She doesn't have any problems. Even with nappy rash, I only had nappy rash once, and that was when we went to Dar to visit my friend. It was really hot. And so, like, she just was so, I was really uncomfortable. I was so hot and bothered I wanted to walk around with no clothes on. So then that was the only time I had any problems with nappy rash. Other than that, we've never, ever had to worry about it. We've never had any skin problems, skin conditions, reactions, nothing. And when I speak to people who say how not only are they struggling to afford these nappies, they're also struggling to find the right brands for their babies. And because people don't use them as much, or because there's this notion of it's old school, it's been phased out, a lot of people just think, no, I just need to find the right brand. So I'm appealing to those people who, you know, your baby's skin is reacting to these diapers and you've tried different brands and it's still not working. Like, don't put your baby through this. You don't have to. Cloth nappies are really good, they're really useful, and they can really help. The other thing that I really liked about these nappies, which appealed to me, and I'm sure has appealed to a lot of people who use them, is that you get a variety of different prints. So you have, like, you're spoiled for choice when it comes to what color, what print, what pattern. And I was spoiled for choice. I didn't know what to pick. And it's nice when I put my baby's nappy on and it just, you know, she just looks great. So that even if there's a bit of a nappy showing when she's walking around, it's like, it's all right. It's a cute print, you know. It's fun sometimes. Like, I try to see if I can color coordinate what she's wearing with the nappy she's wearing. So it's fun and it's just nice. It looks good, especially if you're in a hot country and it's a place where maybe sometimes you want your babies to just walk around in their nappy. It's fun to have fun prints to play around with. It might be a different order for you. It might be that what I say as number 1 is your number 3 or whatever the case may be. But all these points to me are really important. Even if you're not someone who cares about the cost, you might be someone who cares about the environment, or you might be someone who cares about your baby's skin. I'm going to break down the cons because there are some disadvantages, but then to me, like I said, the pros outweigh the cons, but I'll break it down anyways. Disadvantage number 1 is you need more time because of cleaning them, stuffing them. Like, with the kind of nappies I use, you have to stuff them in, and I'll get into that. You have to put inserts in, so you have to spend more time prepping the nappies. So if you're someone who doesn't have time, this could be a bit of a disadvantage for you. You have to have more space if you're traveling, if you're going around, if you're going away on holiday. You need to have more space for your nappies. Like, for us, we literally pack a suitcase or a bag specifically for her nappies. And if we know we're going to be in a place where we won't be able to do the washing and we'll have to come back with them, then we have to pack all her nappies, and that can be quite a lot of space. Obviously, like I've talked about the space, then you have to think about the fact that you're carrying back the nappies home. So you're taking your soiled nappies, your wet nappies, your stinky nappies, you're taking them back home. I mean, we got these cute little bags. They're like good for putting in used ones. Once you have those, then it traps all the smells in and you don't have to worry about stinking. But at the end of the day, it's something which you have to consider. And if you're going like camping, or you're going to a place where there's not going to be a place to wash or rinse or clean your nappies, then that's something you have to think about, having a bag to carry the soiled nappies. To begin with, that was quite daunting for me, like just the thought of it. But once I started becoming a cloth nappy user, it made sense. And once you make something normal, you find a way around it. And for us, we found a way around it, and it was great. So like, to me at the moment, even saying it doesn't sound like a problem, but I can see how it might sound like a problem to someone else. So it's worth considering and just being aware of it. And then once you find your way, then you'll be fine. The other disadvantage is the amount of water that you're going to end up using, because you will end up doing more laundry. That just means more washing. If you're going to be doing hand washing, which is still fine, you can still do hand washing, then that's something else to think about. So if you're someone who's worried about how much money you're spending on water, I mean, water is not very expensive, but if you're someone who's thinking about how much money you're spending on water, then that's something to consider. And if you use a washing machine, then of course you'll use more electricity. It just depends on how you plan yourself, but it's worth considering. So it's good for you to know. And the final disadvantage is how much more laundry you have to do. Obviously, like, there's the water, but there's also the fact that you have more laundry, the more work, more workload, more chores. Again, if you're someone who's time constrained, or if you're someone who's really busy, or if you're someone who doesn't have help, then it's something which will be an extra thing to think about. Now, the very first thing for me when I started thinking about doing cloth nappies was where to start. I think we grew up with, knowing that you just have like the kind of towel type of nappy that you fold, and then you put it over your baby's bum, and then you put a safety pin through, and then you put in like a waterproof, like they look like waterproof underwear to hold everything in place. And that's what I knew. That's the notion I had. And I think that's the notion that a lot of people have if you've never looked into cloth nappies. But then when I started opening up that world, it was mind-boggling just how much variety and option there is. Like, it's crazy. There's so many, even I can't mention right now. Things like pre-folds, pocket nappies, all-in-ones, all-in-twos, or like so many different types of nappies. I'm just gonna cover what I use and the types that I found to be really user-friendly and just easy. But if you want to do it, just do your research and find what works for you. There's so many YouTube videos, there's so much information online. You can find out whatever you want. And even when you go shopping, you can go into baby shops and you can ask them what they have, and then you can make the decision that works for you. I tried a few things, and I'm just going to talk about what I did. So I use what's called pocket nappies. They look like, they're shaped like a disposable nappy. So when you look at it like this, it opens up like a disposable nappy, and then it's got a really soft interior where your baby's bum sits, and then it's got like a waterproof exterior. And it has, I went for the version that has the poppers, and the poppers basically means that you stick them like this to close them. It has the poppers, and the beauty with these poppers is you can adjust them to your baby's size. So as they grow, you can keep adjusting. It has lots of options. I don't know if you can see. And then, when they're smaller, you can even fold them up and make them even smaller and tighter and all of that. And she's been wearing them since she was 6 weeks old, and now she's 18 months and she's still wearing them, and they still fit perfectly. So I really liked these ones. This particular brand is called Littles and Blooms. I bought this online, and they're very, very cheap. I think it was like for 5 nappies including inserts. So I'll talk about the inserts. Inserts are the stuff that you put inside. So it's like a pocket, and you stuff it in. You have like a bit you stuff in. I think it was like for 5 nappies you get, I think it was an extra 6th one as part of a deal, and it was something like £25. So it's like, in Kenya shillings, it's like 3,000 bob for 5 nappies. And if I think I bought that, I did that maybe 3-4 times. So in the end, I ended up spending less than 15k for all my nappies, which is like, sounds like a lot the first time, but then for someone who's not going to be spending any more, that's honestly, it's ideal. Because I talked about like people saying how they're struggling to pay for their baby's nappies, and you hear people talking about how they spend 1,000 a week. So guys, like, if you do the math, it's it's a no-brainer, you know, like this is so much cheaper. So this is Littles and Blooms. I really like this brand. I tried to experiment with another brand and I got this one called the Alva Baby. I didn't like it so much. It's pretty much the same thing, exactly the same design, exactly the same number of poppers, different prints, sure, you know, you get different prints, but it was, I just find that Alva Baby, the poppers sometimes are a bit fiddly, you know, like now I'm struggling to pop them, you know, it's not very user friendly. So I think it's just like because it's a different brand, maybe their standards are a bit substandard, but maybe also it's the batch that I bought, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I would stick with Littles and Blooms. If you're someone who's looking for a really pocket friendly, easy to use type of nappies, I would go for Littles and Blooms. Not that this is sponsored by them or anything, it's just because I really like them. But this is for someone who's buying stuff online on eBay or on Amazon. If you're in Kenya, because in Kenya people have asked me where can I get these nappies, I'm going to show you what I got. I bought this in Biashara Street. They have them, every single shop has, it's pretty much the same. It's called Kian Kuno. Anyway, it's a Chinese brand. It starts with a Q and ends with an I, and every single Biashara Street shop has the same exact brand. And you know how it is in Kenya, like sometimes you have a row of shops selling the exact same thing. I don't understand. I think it's a monopoly, or maybe it's the same supplier or whatever it is. But this is the only brand that I found that was as close to what I have. It was a bit more expensive. The quality is not the same, but it's still going. I've had this for over a year. It does the job. It's just as absorbent. It's just as soft and comfortable. It's just slightly different in design or slightly different in look or in material, but it's pretty much as useful. And I would recommend, like, if you're looking to see what you can buy, they also have different prints. They have different colors. You can buy plain colors. This is just what I chose. I had this in another one and they're very similar. And they come with an insert, which is like a microfiber. They call them microfiber inserts. I'm not going to get into the naming so much because it's going to be mind-boggling. It'll go over your head like it went over my head. All I can say is just look into getting a pocket nappy. It's really easy to use, and then you take everything apart. For example, like with this one, if you take out the inserts, so this has a very simple bamboo insert. They call it bamboo insert with like elastic folds. And this is a really good example of an insert that you can buy. This you can buy separately. I bought this separately. There are those that come together with the nappies when you're buying them, and there are those that come separately. Like you can just buy extra separately, especially when your baby starts growing older and peeing more. Then the volume that your nappies catch ends up not being so sufficient. So you end up needing to have something that will manage that volume better. So then you end up just buying more inserts so that you can stuff more. You can keep stuffing more until, you know, obviously you don't want it to be too big and too bulky, but it can end up being better, and your baby can sleep through the night without having to have leakage and all of that stuff. So yeah, if you're looking to see where to get them in Nairobi, Biashara Street, like I said, they have different options. They also have those towel type, which you have to fold, and really cheap. But the problem with that is that they're not very absorbent and they don't last very long. They fray quite quickly. I did try them, and within no time they were fraying quite quickly. But then this particular one, I think, was something like 1700 bob. I think it was 1700 bob for 2. When I bought the Littles and Blooms, I got 6 for 3000 bob, and it was like much better quality. So when you do the math, it makes so much more sense to buy this online if you can. But of course, if you can't, then you get this. It'll still be cheaper than buying your disposable nappies, especially since disposable nappies, guys, is also expensive in Kenya, and especially for those brands that are imported. They're so much more expensive in Kenya. I've had people sending me to buy them disposable nappies from here to take to Kenya because of how much cheaper it would be. So either way, you're spending more money. As long as anything is imported, you're spending more money than you should be. If your baby poops, I use this. It's like a bamboo flashable liner. So you can have a liner, and it looks like toilet paper, but also it looks like a dry, if you have like a wet wipe and it dries up, that's what it feels like. And it's really easy. It just rolls out like a toilet roll. And what you do is you line your nappy with them, and it just catches the poop. And when you put your baby's nappy, so you just take out a sheet and then you place it on the nappy like that, and then you you know, like that. Like I fold one side a bit just so that it can fit. And then once you do the baby's nappy up, it catches the poop. And when you're changing the nappy, you just take out the bit that's been caught in the poop and you flush it, and that's it. So then the beauty with that is you're not worrying about having to handle the poop. That's something which people, I'm sure, are worried about. This really helps. I really recommend getting this. It's also available online. It's really cheap. And the beauty with it is it's flushable, so it breaks down, and you don't have to worry about messing yourself up or anything. Once you just take it, as long as you've put it and it's got the poop, it's great. Especially once your baby starts eating solids, then it's fantastic. You know, it just catches it nicely. So that's what I do, and that's what we've been doing. And then, like I said, we use this to pack up our poopy diapers or any diapers. The other thing that's really good about the pocket nappies is once your baby's used it, check this out. Maybe I'll use a color that you can see better. So I'll use this color. So you fold it up like that, and then if you want it to be so much neater and less stinkier, you can really roll it up tight and then fold it like that, you see, and then pop it up, and just like that. Even if you've forgotten one of these, which I tend to do quite a lot, what you can do is just have this like that, and if you look at this, you're completely protected. You don't have to worry about anything going onto your hands, onto your clothes or anything. And you can carry this, and even if you put it in your bag, because this is waterproof, if you put this in your bag with other stuff, it allows you to pack it down so nice and so small and so neat. And it's just so easy to just carry this around and then take it home and then clean it, and that's it. So I really like this type of nappies because of that. So it's not just the way that it's easy to use or the way that it's easy to expand with your baby's growth, or the fact that it's got poppers that are nice and comfortable next to your baby's skin. It's also because it's nice for packaging when you're taking them home. So that's something to consider. If you want to have one of these, then you just pop this in and then you zip this up, and then you're a happy camper or a traveler or whatever you're doing with your life, okay? So, changing a poop diaper. If you're lucky and you remember to put a liner, then your lining will catch the poo, and that way you just have to worry about just peeling it off, rolling it up and putting it aside ready for disposal. Sometimes, obviously, like I forget sometimes, or I assume she's already done her poo and I don't put another lining, in which case then I have a soiled nappy to worry about. And there's different ways you can handle that, either scraping it off or soaking it so it loosens out the dirt. There's different ways you can do it. There's some people who put it in the washing machine to do a rinse and then do another proper wash. It's up to you really. But because I used a lining, then this is best case scenario. And if you have the lining, it catches the poo, and you find that your nappy is pretty much clean. I mean, it's not clean, it still has like pee, but it's much easier to handle. And then you put that aside. And also I use toilet paper to wipe my baby's bum, which is also great for the environment. And then I also use a bamboo cloth. I mean, there's different types of cloth you can use. Also, that's another way of trying to avoid using cotton wool or like wet wipes, because those are things which end up in landfills. So as another way of trying to be like eco-friendly, I use bamboo cloths, just some kind of cloth just that you can just like rinse and wipe. Obviously you can use whatever. You can use like an old towel or other cloths that you cut up, or you can even use like a face towel that you buy specifically for your baby's bum. If it's something which you want to try, they're really good. And then once I've finished cleaning her bum and then get her dressed up, once she's out of the way and a happy camper, then we can move on to continuing with how to sort out the nappies. So the next thing that I do is I rinse out the nappies. Depending on where you are, if you have a sink, then that's great, because it means you can rinse out the nappies and make them so much nicer and pleasant as they wait to be washed. For us, we have a bucket in the bathroom and we rinse everything and we put them into the bucket, so that way the bathroom is not stinking. You don't have to worry about odors. We make sure you've rinsed out as much pee as possible so that it's nicer. And then the next thing is, you remember that poo that your lining caught? So if you're someone who remembered and put a lining and you caught the poo, then you have to dispose of that lining, and usually you just like carry it like it's a nice little package and you put it down the toilet and you flush it down the loo and it's gone. Next step is how to put a wash on. Is the same way as putting a wash on for any other clothes. We just load the washing machine, empty the bucket or empty your diaper bags, set the timer. Usually I do a 2-hour wash, that's 40 degrees. And then once you leave that running, 2 hours later come back and you've got your fresh, clean nappies. We usually put a softener or a fabric conditioner that makes them smell really good, and then put them out to dry. And because we have beautiful prints, it's really nice to see our washing hanging out beautiful for the world to see. So that's basically how we do the cleaning of the nappies, and now they're clean and fresh, ready for use. I think I've covered everything except for maybe like the types of inserts. I mean, there's inserts like bamboo inserts, you'll hear things like charcoal inserts, you'll hear things like flour sack cloth, cotton inserts. There's so many different types of inserts. You choose what you find to be useful and suitable for you. Whenever we do a wash, we just have this separate and it dries really quickly, especially if you use a washing machine. Like, it comes out almost completely dry because, you know, washing machine knows how to like completely wring it out. And then you have the inserts. The thicker the insert, the longer it'll take to dry. The more absorbent, the longer it'll take to dry, which is fine. You just have to, you know, be prepared for that. And then you stuff them in, and basically this is how you do it. You just take your insert, hold it on one side, and then you pull this in like so, and voila. So what I would do is I would stuff my nappies when I'm watching TV in the evening, when we're relaxing with my husband, when we're just unwinding by the end of the day, and it's something which you can just do with something else happening in the background. So I would do this when I'm watching TV normally, or maybe we're just hanging out and chatting, and within 10 minutes I'm done. And I would recommend stuffing all your nappies beforehand, so that whenever you're ready to use a nappy or you need a nappy, you just grab one that's ready to go, pop it onto your baby's bum, and you're good to go, and that's it. So I think I've covered everything there is to cover about cloth nappies. If you have any questions, or if you have any concerns, please let me know. I know, like, at the moment I've only talked about buying them on Biashara Street in Kenya. I don't know about other nappy shops. I've checked baby shops like in Side Center and other malls, they don't have them, but I know if you go downtown you'll find them. There must be other shops that you can find them in. Just check out Biashara Street, they're there, and they do have different options, so you could just go and see different variations, different price ranges, so you can find them that suits your pocket, something that suits your style. And if you're someone who's able to buy them online, I'd recommend buying them online, just because they're so much better quality and so much cheaper. If you know someone who can bring them for you, whatever, then it's worth looking into them. The thing about them, they range in price from the like really cheap to super expensive. Like I said, I bought this pack of 5 or 6 for £25. There's brands that go for £25 a pop. So it just depends on what type of brand you're looking for. For me, I'm really happy with this brand, so I don't see why I would spend so much more money on another brand, because it works perfectly for me and my baby, and everything has been good. But I'm sure there are people who really would swear by those other brands. So it's just a matter of checking what you have available to you and trying them out. At the end of the day, I just think it's really good to try and use cloth nappies if you can, just because they're good for you, they're good for your pocket, they're good for the environment, they're good for the baby, they're just good. If you're someone who's got the patience and the will to try and just experiment, then maybe you won't regret it. Obviously, if you try and it doesn't work, but I'm here to try and champion cloth nappies just because they're so good. I'm really happy that I got to use them. And I know the other thing is that these ones are over a year old and they're still in such good condition that once our baby stops using them, I'll just keep them and use them for our next baby if we have another baby. And I know some people who used cloth nappies for all 3 of their daughters, and then by the time they were done, they sold them secondhand online, which is the other thing. You can buy these secondhand online. So if you're someone who's thinking, okay, I really want them, but then I don't want to spend that much money on even cloth nappies, there are forums where you can buy them secondhand. It's the same as buying secondhand clothes. Don't think, oh, I can't use someone else's nappies. Guys, as long as you wash them, even with clothes, when you buy clothes, you have to wash them before you use them. So at the end of the day, it's just a matter of finding the forums. There's forums on Facebook, forums online, people who are selling secondhand nappies. If you're looking for something even cheaper, then you can get them even cheaper. And the beauty is you can get to use them for all your babies, and then you can sell them or whatever you want to do. So you might think about all the things you're saving, the environment, your pocket, everything. Like, it's so good. So yeah, that's the end of my video. I hope this helps somebody, please leave a comment if you have any questions or if you think that I've missed something out. I hope that this helps those people, specifically those who have been asking me, when are you doing your cloth nappy video? This is for you, you know yourselves. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful, and yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Thank you once again. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Share with people who you think are struggling to get nappies, and cloth nappies might be a good option for them. Yeah, and just like and comment, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Until the next video,